we liberated some skin cells from an early frog embryo. We didn't do anything else to them. We didn't reprogram them. There's no chemical factors, no new transgenes, no weird nanomaterials. Just set them aside and see what they would do given the chance to reboot their multicellularity. And the reason we call them Xenobots is because Xenopus laevis is the name of the frog where it came from. I think they're a biorobotics platform because once we learn to communicate with the collective, we'll be able to make new useful things. And so, that's robotic. The thing about Xenobots is that they have all kinds of interesting behaviors and morphogenesis and so on. We don't know yet all their competencies. At the moment, we're studying this. What can they learn? What preferences do they have? What new tricks can they do in novel environments? The one thing we've seen they can do is something called kinematic self-replication. So if you provide them with a bunch of loose skin cells, go around in circles, they push these skin cells, balls, and because they're dealing with an agential material, it's an agential material, they already do this, the little balls they make become the next generation of Xenobots. And guess what they do? They run around and they create and they do it again and they make the next generation and so on, right? So this is pretty amazing because it's like von Neumann's dream of a machine that makes copies of itself from stuff it finds around the environment. There's never been any Xenobots. There's never been any selection to be a good Xenobot. There's never been any, as far as we know, no other animal on Earth does kinematic self-replication like this. And so, where'd that come from? It wasn't specifically selected for. Why do they know how to do this? Those are the really interesting questions. And what else can they do? We're currently studying all the new genes they express. They express hundreds of new genes that frog embryos don't express. And then we took it one step further. These bots, the way they swim around is with these cilia, these little hairs. Some people said, well, why do you need a new name for this? I mean, these are just animal caps. Animal caps are what developmental biologists for decades have called frog epidermis that has cilia, and if you cut it off from a frog, it makes this little thing that sits there and wiggles. So these are just animal caps. They're amphibian, they're embryonic, extremely plastic. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing embryonic plasticity. So if you call them animal caps and you focus on them as a developmental biology outcome of frog embryogenesis, that's the end of the line. I mean, that's it. If you think about this if you entertain the hypothesis that this is a more general capacity of plasticity of cells trying to come together to form some kind of coherent solution to their new problem in morphospace, and if you think about it as a bioengineering platform, you can ask yourself, well, what else can I make these out of? And we now did it with adult human cells. And anthrobots are a self-motile, self-assembling biobot platform that comes from adult human cells. No amphibians, no embryonic tissue. These are adult human patients giving samples of tracheal epithelium, and these cells can also come together. And they're amazing because these anthrobots, I mean, they self-assemble, they run around, they have behaviors, they have certain morphotypes. But one of the things we found that they do is if you take a bunch of human iPS-derived neurons and you just sort of make a long monolayer on a petri dish, and you take a scalpel and you scratch, you put a scratch through it, so it's like it's a scratch assay that people use for wound healing. If you throw some anthrobots in there, what they'll do is they settle down in the scratch, and they sit there, and if you lift them up about 4 days later, what you see is that what's happened is they've taken the two edges of the neural layer and they've connected them. They heal neural wounds. Like, who would have known that your tracheal cells, which normally sit there quietly, pulling the mucus up for 8 decades or whatever, that actually, if you let them, give them some freedom, they can run around and heal peripheral innervation. Like, that's just the first thing we tried. So my gut feeling is that they have a huge number of novel competencies that we have no way of guessing at the beginning, and we need to find out. We need to figure out what do they sense about their environment, what can they learn, what do they remember. So all this plasticity, it's all there, and we do not really have a science of understanding what goals and what competencies a complex system is going to have when we build it. We build them all the time, right? We build swarm robotics, Internet of Things, so social structures, financial institutions. Some of them are going to have complex goal-directed activity, and we don't know how to predict it or control it.